Hello, everyone. Tony's here. Kristen's here.
Hello, hello.
Um, we want to do a sound check to make sure that you're not getting an echo or anything from Kristen or myself, and that the audio sounds good. So if you could please let me know.
Yeah, let us know if you can hear us double. We've been working on the sound.
I can hear an echo, but that's because it's me.
You can turn down your ears.
I always talk like this.
I always talk like this. I always talk like this. Echo, echo. Oh, so I'm okay. Slight echo for you. That's weird. I wonder if it's because you're so loud, my mic's picking you up.
I believe in projecting.
You believe in me? Projectors?
Yeah, something like that.
Mary said it's getting better. Bunny says slight echo from Tony. So I wonder if I just turn my mic down a little bit.
Well,
Like that. It won't pick you up so much.
let me.
Because last week or last time it was a slight echo from me. Not slight. It was a major echo because of the computer speakers. But we turned those off, so that should fix that.
Yeah, I don't want to. Hold on. Let's try this.
Now I am what, Bunny? I'm echoing.
Okay, can you hear me now? I turned my input audio the whole way down from my computer.
But that shouldn't matter.
Yeah, I can't hear myself in here now.
Right, but that shouldn't matter about them. Anybody want to see Taco Cat?
Am I echoing?
Hey, now.
You're okay. No.
Now he's just being a weirdo.
Womp, womp, womp. The good news is this is on our YouTube channel just like that because that's how we roll.
Yep. Yeah, once you enter teacher mode, though, you're going to start projecting, so I may still mute my mic.
That's up to you.
Hi.
Well, I think we're going to get underway. How's that?
Let's just say hi to everyone first.
Okay.
Because she just woke up from her day-long nap. It's Taco Cat. Everyone say hi, Taco Cat. She's watching you. She's watching the comments. She's literally looking at the comment stream. Silly little fur ball.
Silly kitty.
Oh, silly kitty. What you doing? Did you go get some dinner? Yep. She's my little ham. She's just sitting here checking it out. Oh, you're done? Okay. She's done now.
Okay, well, let's get started.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone, to an Unscripted and Magical podcast. This is Tony Laddig together with Kristen.
Hello.
And if you recall the last one of these that we did, we didn't have any plan for the near future. We talked about Patreon and all of that kind of stuff. And that is likely going to still happen at some point, but I need to follow inspiration whenever it comes to me. And I felt like we needed to do this. So here we are. The approach that I'm taking tonight is a little bit different. I kind of changed my mind at the last minute. Initially, I was planning on not doing any slides, just flying by the seat of my pants.
Oh, we all know how that went.
It can work. Quite frankly, I did create slides there. I went through some of my downloads that I've received this month and decided to share some of those with you because I think they're applicable to most, if not all of you and everyone else for that matter. And I decided to put them on the screen. That way you can read them yourself. I'm going to also read them. The other reason why I decided to take that approach is that understand that I received a lot of this for my own personal consumption, if you will. And so things that were really personal or directed, I've removed from these notes. But I think you'll still find everything extremely helpful. And quite frankly, I didn't really feel like ugly crying live in front of, a whole bunch of you guys and gals. So,
Yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah, I can't promise that won't still happen at some point because a lot of this is very deep, deeply personal for me. Lalanya is here. Hello.
Hello, Lalanya. I assume that's how we pronounce your name. I've never actually done it.
Yeah.
Other than telling Tony, Lalanya messaged me. Look at this. Stuff like that.
Lalanya is a wire wrap artist extraordinaire. She does a lot of work for us. So anyway, sounds like we're getting echo. Let me turn up my volume a little bit. I don't know why that would make a difference, but
turn up. Lalanya.
Lalanya. Ah, very good.
Well, I muted my mic, so that may have helped.
Am I still echoing as much? If you could let me know. We have a Rodecaster. We just haven't set it up yet, and that should eliminate a lot of these audio problems.
It's my mic picking me up just like I thought.
The echo went away.
It's because I'm muted.
Oh.
So just watch for me to unmute.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to turn myself back down.
Yeah, it's because I muted my mic, so it was eliminating his echo by my mic picking it up. I mean, I did turn myself down, but I don't know that would.
Some say echo, some say no echo.
That's because of the delay and when I'm muted. Except my mic won't turn down.
Echo Charlie Foxtrot.
I turn it down and it keeps turning back up.
It's probably auto leveled.
Yeah, it's fancy. New mics.
Well, no worries. Let's just keep going. People can deal with the echo, echo, echo. All right. So, as I mentioned, what I thought would be kind of cool is to take some extracts from the daily downloads that I receive and share them with you. These are all from June. I've been doing these daily journalings for the last couple of years, 2 years, give or take. But this is just over the last few days. Well, no, it's from the beginning of June, I guess. So I'm not sharing everything, of course, but I just really went through to pick things that I thought would be really helpful for you guys. The last one, we talked about some of the insights that I gained on calling the pieces of ourselves back that we're missing and how that has impacted manifestation and some of those kinds of things. And we shared the story about how our housekeeper decided to practice the same thing. We told her about what we were doing, and she decided to do the same thing. And she started to see some immediate results. But for the rest of the story, that has increased dramatically. Why don't you tell about that, Kristen?
So I met with her yesterday, and she's been a little distant, like for the last 2 months. And I asked her what was up, like, is everything okay? Usually, like, normally she stays around, hangs out, talks to us, that kind of thing. But she's been like in, out, get down to business, get it clean, get done. And turns out one of the landlords that has a couple of Airbnbs that she was cleaning decided he liked her so much that now she is doing all of his properties, all his move out cleans, all of his renovation cleans, even storefront cleans for stores that are in his spaces and renting. I mean, we're talking like quadruple income in the less than a couple months since that happened, since she did the calling back pieces. So that was super, super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we know it's not us.
Yeah, I thought that it was pretty amazing when Kristen told me that on Saturday. I wasn't surprised, but it wasn't Saturday. It was Monday, yesterday. Yeah, I wasn't surprised that it worked because there's a lot of moving parts, in who we are as people. But still, it just kind of proved out that it worked perfectly for her as well. Good problem, I guess, to have is to be so swamped with work that you can't hardly keep up in your business. But that said, let's get into the first one here, first quote that I want to share. Pamela, you'll have to go back and watch the first one of these that we did about a month ago. Okay. The divine exists because life is magical. How you choose to embrace it or interpret it is up to you because you are the one who gives it meaning. You choose. You align. Magic is. In the end, it all comes down to relatability combined with a deep need to have meaning in the context of place. It's a big statement, but just kind of let that sink in a little bit. Humanity craves a reason why, and that drive is what fuels creative expression, like art, and the creation of the divine as you currently understand it. I'm going to read that again just to make sure you pick up on what was just said. Humanity craves a reason why, and that drive is what fuels creative expression and the creation of the divine as you currently understand it. If anything, this approach to the divine is kept most trapped into leading a life that is much less than what they are truly capable of. It's time to drastically reset what normal is and means. What if you are the divine simply on a journey of self-discovery? And
Deep.
it's deep. It really makes you think, though. I think this was from January 1st, if I remember correctly, or June 1st, excuse me. And one of the things that struck me about this whenever I wrote it down was that, like a lot of these, you're going to see a pretty common theme, and that is that we live way below where we should, or we're leading someone else's life due to expectations, or there's ways that we view ourselves that makes us less than in our own eyes, or we just simply are trapped in our past, in grief, in fear, fill in the blank. All of us connect into those things at one time or another. It's called life. It just simply happens. The object of the game, though, is to not stay there. And that really has been the theme that I've been working through, is that. Let's go to the next one. The path you are on includes everything you need for the journey on it. Think about that for a second. Everything that we're called to, whatever that is, everything that we need is already available to us. Every idea, insight, connection, and more exists on this path. On the path, there is much to see, do, and explore. This is not a path for a marathon. It's meant to be explored. That said, forward movement is also part of the journey. As you travel the path, more will be accessible to you. Everything is ready and waiting. It will never not be ready and waiting. This is your path, and it is a path of fulfillment, healing, blessing, and abundance. So enjoy discovery. And I like this one too, because very often we connect to this place where we think that, well, we have this big calling or this passion for something that we really want to get on with, but we just don't have what we need or what we think we need. And in reality, that isn't true. It's so easy to slip into this thing where we think that we're under attack, or that things aren't going the way they should, or that we can't do this or that. And one of the things that I was just reminded of over the last couple of days was that very often the way we look at things is in a wrong positioning. We lose track of the fact that we're supposed to remain in a state of constant gratitude. It's real easy to forget to give thanks. And so, you know, the bank account gets a little bit low and we think, oh my God, we're in survival mode and things are going down the toilet. When in reality, we're surrounded by abundance, and we really, have more than what we can imagine if we choose to actually look at that from that perspective.
I want to share the thing that I've started doing, the exercise. It's actually, it's not my idea. It's from Whiz Bang Retail. The people who had that up is something that they said he does. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know Bob Nagan, like he does this cool exercise. I'm like, I need a journal for to do that in, because I'm not really a journaling person, believe it or not. But while we were in North Carolina, I found the perfect little leather bound book, just a tiny little thing like this, hideously expensive, but worth every penny. It was at one of the art centers, says handmade banners, handmade paper. I mean, it's super cool. So it needed to be something special for us, and I wouldn't do it. I also need, so I keep a tiny pen in it, and I keep it right next to the bed. Every morning, when I get up, I write the date and one thing I'm grateful for, whatever that thing is. And it literally could be one word. I mean, I literally go to sleep one morning, just sleep. And then that night, I write one win from the day, just one thing that I accomplished. And honestly, that's the harder thing. A couple of days this past week, I'm like, I can't think of one thing that I did that I felt accomplished in. So I picked something small. What I realized doing this little bitty exercise is overnight, my dreams, and as I wake up during the night, okay, it's hard to understand me because I'm echoing Rebecca. Can you just mute yourself?
I am
See
muted.
You are?
Mhm.
You weren't until just now.
No, that was my computer. That was these.
Oh, can you guys hear me now without the echo?
I wonder if your computer mic is picking you up along with that.
It's on this though, in the
But
settings.
doesn't your headphones have a mic?
Yeah, but it's set to use this
I don't know.
for mic and this for speaker. And it's set to echo cancellations. I don't know what else to do. Okay, it's better now. No echo. So it is, see, your mic is picking me up and my mic is picking you up. Okay. So what I noticed is a few days into it, maybe about a week into it, I started thinking about the thing I wanted to be thankful for before the next morning came around. And that placed me in a state of gratitude before I even got out of bed. It's made a huge difference, even in the little things that I write down at the end of the day, thinking about one little win and going, well, this isn't much, but I did something. That also has started to shift my perspective and my attitude. It's been so, I mean, it's easy to say, oh, gratitude is everything. What's the thing? Be thankful for what you have and not looking at the things you don't have. I can't remember the exact phrase you use for that, but be grateful. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you could hear me if you had noise cancellation on. This is new, trying the headphones for each of us. But be grateful for what you have. Stop focusing on what you don't have. And that's it. Stop focusing on what you don't have and be grateful what you do have. That's the order of it. So it's actually helped me do that as a habit, even throughout the day now, versus saying, yes, I'm going to be grateful today. That it's putting this plan into practice, actually writing the things down. I mean, literally one word in most cases. I think the max I wrote in one day was 4 words total. 1 word for gratitude and 3 words for something I did. Like I'm doing a certified crystal practitioner course right now, and I have 1 more module left before it's done. So that would be Friday of this week. And so on these days that I do the modules when they're released, I literally write that as my accomplishment for the day. I'll just write module 2. It doesn't matter that I remember. This isn't a journal I'm going to go back to and visit. So it doesn't matter if I remember anything related to it. What matters is keeping me in the moment in that day and remembering the thing I did that day and thinking about what I'm grateful for the next day. So I just wanted to share that. It's been pretty dramatically changing in my moods and stuff. Been pretty cool.
Okay. The next quote or whatever that I thought I would share is, when you struggle with a feel of failure and a skewed view of your value, what you're capable of, you self-edit your value before you even discover what you're capable of. So in other words, whenever how we view ourselves is skewed, we immediately edit what we see ourselves capable of before we even give ourselves the chance to find out. So that way it keeps us locked. And so it's safer. That's why we do it. It's a defense mechanism of sorts. You cannot fail if you don't finish. That's kind of the logic, and I found myself in the same place where, I'm a great beginner, and sometimes I've really struggled in finishing. In some areas, I'm a great finisher, and other things I don't finish. And what I realized was that if I don't finish, I don't have to deal with failure because there's nothing out there, right? There's nothing out there to fail in because I haven't shared it publicly. But not finishing is a form of failure if you think about it. And so you can't be judged without putting yourself out there, and no one can criticize you or challenge you to do better if no one sees what you've created. Now, you would think, for me, I have over 200 courses that I've taught, over almost 500 individual webinars, plus a boatload of products and everything. You would think I'm a good finisher, but yet there's some areas that I really struggle in, especially when it comes to, I don't know, personal creation or whatever. I'm better at it now than I certainly used to be, only because I realized what I was doing, and I think that I'm sure not everyone struggles with this, but, if you are one of those people who do, the simple and easy step for me, I think, is to recognize ultimately it comes down to value, how we value ourselves, how we value our time, the worth that we see. I'm not talking about ego and thinking you're all that in a bag of chips. It's not like that at all. It's just recognizing that there's no one else on the planet like you. You're unique. And just because of that alone, there is a value that's established, because what you do, what you create, nobody else can do. Maybe they can do something similar, but they can't do the same thing because they're not you. And that's one of the reasons, or one of the things that I've really latched onto as, wow, maybe people do care about what what kind of art I create or whatever. And it's funny to say that publicly because, many of you are my customers and for my courses and stuff. So you've seen the end result of a lot of what I teach and a lot of what I do and what I produce and all of that. And so, this is the behind the curtains part that you don't necessarily see. And this isn't me talking, by the way. These are the downloads that I'm receiving just as a, oh, by the way, Tony, you need to pay attention to this kind of stuff.
Well, it's like what Therese Keenest says about the true definition of humility is owning your own greatness, which that's obviously stuck with me for many, many years because it's counterintuitive to what we're taught. Be humble means let everyone walk all over you. It's don't hold yourself in any kind of importance at all. Like you literally have no value. At least that's what I was taught. Like you have no value unless you're giving everything of yourself to others. Well, you can only give everything of yourself for so long before there's nothing left to give. So like what you said about the failure is really not recognizing yourself and your own giftings. That's the same thing as humility. You need to own your own greatness.
Right. Yep, that's very true. All right. And I'm not going to apologize for any of these. I had to deal with them. Y'all can deal with them.
Guys, I've had to deal with them.
And one thing that I will say about this stuff, I've, with the exception of 2-3 people, nobody has ever seen these before. And actually what I'm sharing here, the only other person that's heard this or seen this is Kristen. So this is like, it's incredibly personal. Okay. Even though it's applicable to the rest of you, just understand that. You've created a network of justified excuses to keep you off of the hook. Oh, I'm too busy. I don't have time. You know, whatever. We use those to justify not accomplishing something. This ongoing process gives the appearance of busyness without the discipline of finishing anything. You can create enough to prove to yourself that you can do it, but never fully commit to completion. Time to be the finisher. Many people will be blessed by your finished works. And so, again, what I find truly amazing about this is the lengths that we will go to justify a position to keep us off the hook. You know, it's just like, you know, some of the crazy things that are going on today, you know, like people leaving their Walmart receipts in a shopping cart so somebody else can go in and buy the exact same things and walk out of the store without having to pay, and they have the receipt to prove that they bought it, except that they didn't. Or something that my daughter just told me over lunch today. My son-in-law does deliveries and does quite well with it, except that there's this new thing that's happening now where the receiver of like the groceries or food or whatever will put a tip on with the order, and then after the stuff is delivered, they ask for a refund of the tip. It's called tip baiting. And it's like, if people put as much effort into escaping, you know, and finding ways of cheating the system, which, by the way, we are doing the same thing, maybe not to others like that. We're just doing it to ourselves. But if we put as much time and effort into actually doing something positive instead of figuring out ways to cheat the system, including us cheating the system for our own success, imagine how much further down the road we would be. You know, it's just amazing when you think about it. The next one, discovery requires a path and a journey. So many have forgotten that process. Their path and journey has been defined for them. As a result, they have lost sight of who they are. Be the rhythm they sink to, and they'll be forever grateful. And that was a specific thing to me related to Magical Bear. But one thing that I know for me for many years, especially after my divorce and dating different ones and all of that, or, you know, meeting up with other leaders at speaking events and those kinds of things, you know, I can't even tell you how many times somebody would say, oh, you should do X, Y, Z. You're so good at this or that. You would do great with this other thing. And I thought, you know, I probably could do that. I mean, might be fun. But finally, I realized that I was allowing other people to define who I was. I wasn't defining my own self. I talked about that some in the last podcast, where our normal resets to the place where we don't even recognize ourselves anymore, and we think we do. You know, oh, well, so-and-so needs me to take care of this, and so I'll just do that. And I don't really like this job, but I have no other choice, so I'm going to do it anyway. And there's all these things that happen that ultimately become our normal, but there's nothing normal about it, and so as a result, we think we know who we are, but we've really lost sight. We've lost sight of the path, we've lost sight of the journey. And if we really stop and sit down and take a look within, we wouldn't even recognize ourselves, most likely, compared to where we thought we would be or what we wanted to do. The problem is, and I'm speaking from personal experience, is to just avoid looking within. That way you don't have to face that thing that you no longer know who you are. It's like, well, everything is fine. I mean, why rock the boat? You know, and the reality is that the reason why we need to rock the boat is because we're not living to our greatest potential. We're living to someone else's greatest potential, perhaps, because, oh, you're so good at doing X, Y, Z. The other thing is that I'm realizing is that there's a time and a season for everything. Just because you're doing something now doesn't mean you're going to be doing it 5 years from now. I've been teaching webinars for 15 years. And does that mean that I'm going to do it the rest of my life? Hope not. There's other things that I really want to do. I mean, I still enjoy it. I still love it in all of its forms. I was working on the next training course today, which none of you know about really yet. But life is meant to be ever-changing and adapting and all of that kind of stuff, because that's how we're wired. We are discoverers. We want to discover new things, even if it's just about ourselves, which is really cool. Okay. The version of yourself that you stared at, referenced, and focused on was a fake. Meant to keep you bound and ineffective. This is kind of like what I was just talking about. But you can see who you really are unhindered now, and the fake has been exposed. So let me give a little backstory on this. Whenever that was shared with me, which is just a week ago, maybe, I closed my eyes and I saw this picture of myself, sort of, kind of, I guess it was myself. I assumed it was. And it was like I was glowing, like this light was emanating out. And I just took it to mean, or to realize, that that was what I look like 100%. 100% Tony. You'd call it your higher self or whatever you want to call. I saw it as me at 100%. And a lot of the downloads I receive talk about me living life at 100%. I always thought I've been doing pretty good, until several months ago, one of the morning journaling downloads that I got, I was told that I was at about 10%. And I thought, 10% at like 60? That's awesome. I've done a great job at life, but then I was curious to find out, okay, so if I'm at 10%, what's the other 90? And that's really what a lot of this journey has been about, is discovering who I am. Like I mentioned earlier, that we talked about in depth in the first podcast, was all those pieces that are gone, got to find them, like I don't even know what they are, but I want to find out. And so that's kind of where this came from. It's kind of like the next step up from that. And then it goes on and says, take a moment. Oh, I already read that. Nothing can prevent this version of you from shining through. Take time and get to know this real you, and you will discover what you are truly capable of. This isn't an ego thing. You simply are who you are. Time for all three parts, body, mind, and spirit, to fully synchronize and reveal to all who you are. The 100% you will show you the path. Nothing can hold you back, not even you. And I thought that was a very interesting statement, that once you make the decision to align with who you truly are, not even you can stop what's going to happen. How's that? That's pretty awesome, I think. So the next couple, I think, kind of shift gears a little bit regarding manifestation. It all works together. These were given day after day. Manifestation isn't something you do, it's something you are. All exists now, which means manifestation exists now. Choose, align, connect, manifest. Very often I get these words, like these sets of words, sometimes more than others. That process can simply be summed up with yes. Imagine life if you just said yes. I don't know if I can. Let it be. Many get caught up trying to make something happen. There's no need for that. Others try to believe something into being. That doesn't work either. You don't live in fantasy land. Your existence works very practically, and manifestation in its various expressions is a part of that system. In most cases, people relegate manifestation to wishful thinking or superpowers. But in reality, manifestation is limitless and instantaneous. And whenever I got that, I saw this picture where I saw myself standing in this area and I was thinking different things. And as I was thinking them, they were literally coming at me. Now, I'm not saying that manifestation should work that way. I think it was an analogy to prove something to me. However, very often, whenever we want to manifest something in our lives, we either make excuses of why it probably isn't going to happen anyway, or we don't even try, or, we give it a once over. And I'm not saying that this is like the ultimate get out of jail card that everybody should go play the lottery tomorrow because you're going to win. It's not like that. Although if you are told to play the lottery, play the lottery. But the one thing that I really appreciated about it, the statement in the middle there about people getting caught up trying to make something happen or trying to believe something into being. I grew up in the church, and Kristen did as well. And there's a lot of things that we were told that, you just kind of learn to pass off as, well, that's just how things go. Good things come to those who wait. Right? That's what we're told, among other things. And
cleanliness is next to godliness.
Yeah, cleanliness is next to godliness. All of those silly things. And I really appreciated when my guide, as he was downloading this to me, called all of that out. It's like, you're not living in fantasy land. Like, this is practical. And I think a lot of times we have looked at manifesting whatever, relationships, jobs, money, you name it. We've relegated it to this mysterious, hard to understand, only works part of the time kind of thing. The only reason why those qualities happen, so I'm learning, is because we're the ones that make those qualities happen. Those qualities exist in us. Not a manifestation. It's pure. It's a spiritual law. It just does what it does. One of the things that I was challenged with, and I think I removed it from these slides, that, does an apple tree sweat over the idea of producing apples? Like, do you need to manifest? You don't need to stand in front of an apple tree and pray for the apple tree to manifest apples. It just does it naturally with basic ingredients: dirt, water, air, right? And its own programming, if you will. And then as I was thinking about that example of the apple tree, part of the download that I received was, if you want apples, go to the store. You don't have to make this hard. You can get apples anytime you want. And I'm like, yes, sir. Okay, got it. Prayer spells, incantations, and other formulas are often used to make something happen or manifest, but they are unnecessary. You also don't need crystal grids, magic wands, or other physical mechanisms to make manifestation work. These expressions and objects can provide value, however, to help the user align with the right energies. But the prayer, the spell, the wand, the grid isn't what makes the manifestation work. Manifestation doesn't need a mechanism. It just is. Life is manifestation. Manifestation is simply light expressed. Spoiler alert, you are light. So let that sink in. And this hit me really hard because, again, growing up in the church, plus, do we have crystal grids? Yes, there's one sitting right next to me. Do we pray? Do we smudge? Do we do all these things? Do we have wands? Yes, we have all of that stuff. And just about every crystal known to man. But, and even oracle decks, tarot decks, all of that kind of stuff. Those are guides. They're connection points for the energy, because very often we can't tune in ourselves. That's like, I've talked to a lot of people and they're like, oh, you should go down to Mexico or somewhere and do a magic mushroom retreat, or you should go do DMT or ayahuasca or some of those things, because it'll connect you to the spirit and take you to higher realms and all of that kind of stuff. I don't need drugs to connect to spirit. I personally see that all as cheating, because people are too lazy to really dial in to what they're supposed to do. I mean, if you want to do it, I have no problem with that. I will not be. And because I'm making such a firm positive statement, means that I probably will in the next 3 weeks. just because that's how things seem to work.
I was gonna say a lot of people that I know that do that, or that have done that, it's because they're so stuck.
Yeah.
They need that.
I'm not saying that it's illegitimate or that you shouldn't do it or anything like that. Obviously, you want to exercise caution. And there's a lot to be said for discipline. We need to make time to learn how to hear and plug in and all of those kinds of things. Otherwise, we're just spouting off words like a Yahtzee game. And very often, because we're all so busy and distracted, that's exactly how it comes off. And so as a result, nothing happens, or very little happens. And then we have the nerve to blame the manifestation. So I knew this wouldn't work. Tony's full of shit. That may be true, but it doesn't mean that manifestation isn't going to work. And so, just kind of keep that in mind. Now, I want to shift gears here a little bit. We've had fun and we've talked about some cool things. Now we're going to get into some harder things. And this was something that I started walking through last Thursday. So this is, this is interesting. So as most of you know, Kristen and I sold our house a couple months ago. When did we close? May?
April 22nd.
April. So end of April we closed. And I had built that house, not like physically, but I paid to have it built 27 years ago. And so except for 1 year, I lived in the house that entire time. My girls grew up there, all of that kind of stuff. And then Kristen came along, we added on, made it more of our own. Had a lot of great parties there, employee meetings, all kinds of stuff. And then we sold it because why? We're going on the road full time. We want to do full-time RV. So this was a choice that we made, and still very proactive about that choice. But something that was kind of weird to me was that I felt nothing. Whenever we moved out of the house, moved our stuff out of the house, and we took a lot of stuff to auction and all of that kind of stuff, I didn't feel anything. And I thought that I should, and it bothered me.
Yeah, I thought that was really weird. And apparently nobody can hear me now, even though my mic is on. So I just wanted to check in on that.
I muted myself. No, I didn't.
Now you did, but everybody can hear you echo, but not me.
Oh.
I'm talking with Val on text to see if I'm coming through or not. So everything that I just said in the last couple times, nobody's heard me. Oh, now she said I heard you then. Okay.
You know what I think it is?
No, I changed my settings on actual settings for the mic input, and that's what threw everything off.
Plus, I think that there is the delay.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with them hearing you over me.
Correct. Well, correct. Yeah.
It's the mics picking each other up. Okay, I was just trying to find a solution.
Okay. Okay. So anyways, I sort of kind of noticed that I was having a much shorter fuse with things. I would go from 0 to pissed off really quickly about a lot of things.
You didn't notice until I pointed it out to you.
I noticed that I was doing it. I just didn't connect the dots. You connected the dots. And so anyway, last Thursday, it all kind of came to a head where there was a guy here painting our door for the apartment, and he parked in our parking spot. We pay for that spot, and it's reserved, and there's signs everywhere that say it's reserved, but yet he felt that it was important to park there because, I don't know, maybe he can't read. I don't know what his reason was. Maybe he's lazy. Who knows? Maybe he's entitled. But anyway, so when I got back from the mountains, couldn't park. And so I saw one guy painting, and I knew that they were coming. And I asked if it was his truck. He said, no, it belonged to the person out front. So the person out front came back. I asked him if it moved, if he would move his truck because he was parking in our spot. And there's plenty of other parking, and it didn't need to park there, blah, blah, blah. And one thing led to another. And before you know it, we were in a shouting match. And it wasn't like a kind, gentle, pat on the back shouting match. It was knockdown, drag out. And a lot of it was courtesy of moi. And of course, he felt like I was attacking him, which he would have been correct because I was verbally attacking him. And he attacked back. And so one thing led to another. And so finally he moved his car, and I parked, stormed into the apartment. And I felt that I was justified, but I didn't realize what was actually going on. And so Kristen and I talked about it all a little bit. And then she said something that basically 2x4'd me in the head. And the long story short of it was that where I didn't think that I was feeling anything for selling the house and all the other changes that we're going through, self-inflicted, mind you, that I actually was, that it was suppressed, and that what was going on and the reason why the anger was spiking was because of grief. I was grieving the loss of the house. And the moment she said that, I knew she was right. And I was grateful for the fact that she saw through it and was able to share that with me. Immediately, I knew that she was right. And so,
you're not crying, I'm crying.
Yeah, I'm not crying, you're crying. So immediately, I walked back outside. I found the painter guy, and I apologized. I explained to him a little bit what was going on. I told him that he didn't deserve how I acted. Granted, he was still in the wrong for parking in my spot, but there's a lot of different ways of handling a situation like that. And so there were a lot of tears that day, which was especially exciting given that I was teaching that evening, and 3 modules the next day. So, you know, you all hear me teach and you hear what I share in my classes, but you don't usually know what's actually also going on. I'm kind of peeling back that curtain right now. And so anyway, that began another journey for me. And the next couple of slides are kind of some of the result of that. And even though it's incredibly personal, I know that it's not unique. Some of you may be dealing with stuff and you don't know why, or you can't explain how you feel a certain way or why you're acting a certain way when you feel like you're out of control. But in most cases, there actually is a reason why. Sometimes it's invisible to us. Sometimes we don't want to hear it, especially from our spouse. Or it's really just easy to stay in denial or to self-medicate or fill in the blank. And by the way, self-medicate doesn't necessarily mean drugs or alcohol or smoking. It can be buying shit. We go shopping to self-medicate, right? I personally have never experienced that part, but or any of them. I'm not an addictive personality, actually. Not to alcohol and stuff, but so anyway, enough of my backstory.
Was to rocks and tarot and oracle and
oh
my cabs. Oh my God, turquoise.
So listen to some of this. There's some really cool stuff in these downloads that I got. The halls of the past are empty and barren. There is nothing for you there other than emptiness and loneliness. It's kind of hard to think about. These are not the doors you're looking for. Say your goodbyes, appreciate the memories as having contributed to who you are today, and walk through the crystal door. Now, the crystal door in this case, I left this in, but it references a specific vision that I had 37 years ago. And I had to look it up, actually, because I journaled then too. 37 years ago, and I was shown this door. They had a crystal doorknob. So that's what was meant by the crystal door. It was a crystal doorknob. And whenever I turned it, I walked through the door and there was this big field. And I won't get into any of that now. But the reason why I share that is that we all have a crystal door that we can walk through. It's the doorway out of our past. So there is no need to relive these moments. You've already done that. There's no life there. There are no answers there. Only emptiness resides there now, because life always moves forward. Life always reaches for the hope of the future. Don't allow grief to hold you captive and control you. You're surrounded by love and light, so reach for it. And I think a lot of this living in the past stuff was modeled for me by my dad. He was the product of a rape. He always felt like no one wanted him. And so as a result, he constantly looked backwards. He constantly lived in the past. And he was that way till the day he died. I mean, he never moved past it. And I could see it as his son. I mean, growing up, we just kind of knew that was his thing. And he would retell the stories of being a kid standing at the end of the farm lane crying for his mom and all of that kind of stuff, because his grandmother and uncle raised him. But later on, his mom was still around, my grandmother. She just moved to this area, Chambersburg, for a job and everything, and to figure her own stuff out, because she too was the product of a rape. Very interesting family we had going back a couple generations. But anyway, so I would like to think that maybe that's why some of this stuck with me, but I don't want to even offer that up as an excuse. It was ultimately a choice that I made that I didn't recognize or whatever. But you know what was interesting was the moment I chose to not allow that to influence me anymore, its power was gone. It immediately changed me, and which is good news, right? And so the other part of this was, your past has served you well, but not any longer. Let go for good. Letting go isn't loss, it's progress. It's saying yes. You are not surrendering, you're stepping up. You have already opened the door to the field, the one that I just told you about. You've gotten a glimpse of what's there waiting for you. Time to explore. It's breathtaking and amazing, and you deserve it. It's your destiny. Forgive yourself, release your grief. and embrace your 100% and shine. We all have this field, and I've seen a little bit more of mine. I kind of took a spirit drone flight of sorts up into it. It sounds weird, but I could see mountains and all kinds of stuff. But we all have that. It's not something special for me. Okay. It's just really, I think the last line really defines it. Embrace your 100% and shine. It's all about us becoming who we truly are, why we're here on this planet. And if you believe in reincarnation and think that this is your latest version on the planet, so what? I mean, you know, the reality is you're here now. If you don't believe in it, it still doesn't matter. The reality is you're here now. And so why would we relegate our lives to just an existence that we're eking by, tired, afraid, confused, stuck, whatever, when in reality, all that we need is just a little bit of courage to take that step and push through the reality of fear and grief and some of those things. They look like they're giants. It appears like we're battling dinosaurs, these massive creatures with big teeth and everything, like we see in the Jurassic Park movies. But you know what? Jurassic Park movies aren't real, are they? It's all CG and puppets and all of that kind of stuff. Fear and grief are also the same. They put on a big, loud roar, and they put on a very realistic looking hard thing. You're not going to get past me. When in reality, it's a simple choice that moves us past. That getting to the place of making that choice can be incredibly challenging in some cases, especially when it's become our norm. We have this amazing ability to get into a series of issues. Maybe it's grappling with the past, or somebody wronged us, or whatever the case may be. And so we carry so much stress, so much worry, so much fear, to where our brains, as a form of survival, reset to normal. And so it defines, oh, well, yeah, you're under a lot of stress and everything, but we need to be normal. We need to kind of level things out a little bit. So we're just going to reset that for you there, so it doesn't feel like you're carrying as much stress. And then we forget about it, right? It's like, oh, well, this is our new normal. So we just kind of live our lives. Have we gotten rid of that stress and fear? No, we've buried it. Often, like what we'll see children do. They go through trauma, they go through abuse, or whatever the case may be. They lose a family member, a parent or grandparent, great-grandparent, in my case. You don't know how to process that stuff as an 8-year-old or as a 10-year-old. You have no clue. Like, how on earth would we expect a 6 or 8 or 10-year-old know how to process complex emotions like loss and grief? Most kids don't know how. So what do? We forget. And it's not about forgive and forget. We stuff it. And then later on, it shows up in adulthood in the forms of addictions and high stress, poor body image. It could be any number of things. For me, it's often been anger. I don't know why. I guess it was like, for me, I've dealt a lot in my life with grief and abandonment. I was never abandoned, but I felt like I was. Like when my great grandmother died, I was 9. Nobody told me she died for like 2 weeks. I shared this before. And so, she was like next to my parents, like my favorite person in the world. And now she's not around. See, here I am 50 years later. And it gets to me. I mean, I've made my peace with her. I said goodbyes and all that kind of stuff. It's just the power that those things can hold on us. But as adults, we have the wherewithal to make the choice to let it go, to move beyond. And so, many of you might be wondering, man, it seems like everything that I do just doesn't work. Like, I try this and I try that, and I know I'm doing it right, and I just can't get that extra whatever, and so you just kind of feel stuck. A lot of people feel stuck. Look at the world today. The whole damn world is stuck, it seems like, all of the crazy insanity that's going on, oh, it's my right to do XYZ. It's like we're legalizing mental illness in this day and age because they're not recognizing that half the damn world's struggling with PTSD, right? Because of stuff that happened when they were kids. How can they not see that, right? We all go through that in one form or another. It's how it's dealt with ultimately, with our family surrounding us or with us personally or whatever. At the end, it doesn't really matter, provided that we make the choice to let it go. We make the choice to move past it or whatever. Like our house, grieving a house, really? Yeah, apparently that was important to me, and I didn't even know. I mean, the folks who have it now, they've done some nice things with it. I mean, they're making it their own and everything. Tore down a fence and put up a swimming pool. We would have done that. But, I mean, I don't know that I'd have bought that pool, but still, they're making it theirs. It's theirs now. And I'm okay with that. But it really applies to a lot of things. Like if there's any area of your life I'm discovering where you feel stuck or something isn't right or whatever, sometimes it's just a little bit of patience, but also it's good to check in with yourself to make sure that there isn't something else. And quite frankly, from my own personal experience, sometimes this stuff is invisible. We can't see it. And, the last thing in the world you want is for your spouse or a sibling or a parent or whatever and say, well, I can tell you what's wrong. It's like, I don't want to hear it, because we deep down, I think we know they may be right because all that they're doing is confirming what we deep down secretly already know. And it's like, damn it. Now I have to deal with it or not. Let's just do my best with what I have and forget all of that extra stuff. I'm sure living life as 100% Tony isn't all cracked up like it's supposed to be. I mean, how much better could it really get anyways? So I'm pretty content with who I am right now. So let's go with that. I mean, that's kind of how we often look at things. But yeah, that's not me anymore. I've seen what I can be. And it's pretty amazing. I can't show you, obviously. Well, in time I can, I guess. I can't show you the picture in my head that's causing the emotion. All right, moving along. You are not a nobody. That's good news. You are mighty. You are magical. You're relentless. Don't allow anything to stop you. Embrace love and light in yourself and in others. You can live now in the land of light, which is kind of what I guess it's similar to like the spirit or whatever you want to call it. That's where your field is. Time to step in and close the door permanently. When you do, it will vanish. There's no going back, but seriously, why would you want to? You cannot light today's flame
with yesterday's match.
Yeah.
That's going to become a meme, by the way, guys, for our Magical Bear sites. It's so simple and so profound.
I can claim it as a quote because I wrote it down, but it actually didn't come from me. And I don't care. It's powerful nonetheless. And one thing that I will say, in one of my meditation times, I imagine myself doing this exact thing. This is just 2 days ago. Um, and I'll be darned if the door didn't vanish. But then it was kind of funny. What struck me odd, in my mind, I'm sitting in the Jeep in the mountains. Nobody's nearby except for birds and animals and the stream. And I'm sitting there just with my eyes closed, just imagining me standing in this field that I keep talking about and watching myself deliberately closing the door. Sometimes we need to see those things, you know? And the door vanished. But then all of a sudden I realized I'm standing out in the middle of a big damn field. Now what do I do? You know, and that's kind of what precipitated the whole you know, spiritual drone footage in my head of looking past the field and seeing rivers and lakes and mountains and all of that kind of stuff. It's pretty crazy to see. But once, like, one of the things that's been interesting, actually, today is Tuesday, Monday, this was Saturday. So one of the things that's interesting about it is that once I made that decision, all of the talk, like the previous things that I just shared with you about letting go of the past and moving through grief and all of that kind of stuff, all of that stopped and everything changed, including like the animals that were showing up as I drove through the forest. I work with an oracle deck. Actually, I think this is a tarot deck, but the one that I'm currently using, even the cards that I was drawing, they were literally flying out of the deck. I mean, I almost didn't even have to do anything. It's like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to pick up, you know, and the tone of those changed. The tone of the downloads that I received changed. Everything is different. And one of the curious, funny things that happened was, I think I shared this before maybe I didn't. I don't know. This is just Tuesday. But one of the things that I was told as I was driving was everything is different. Pay attention. And no sooner did I hear pay attention in my thoughts, this mockingbird comes out of nowhere and flies right in front of the Jeep. And so I stopped and I looked up the meaning of mockingbird. And one of the meanings for it is to pay attention. And then I saw a deer right after the mockingbird, like literally 10 feet behind where the mockingbird was, just standing alongside the road, just staring at me. And one of the meanings for a deer, of course, is to pay attention to your surroundings. There's some other things connected to manifesting and stuff like that as well. But I just found it very curious that I literally heard, you know, one of the voices inside my head that, you know, keeps me sane, to pay attention. And all of a sudden I get these physical signs that mean the exact same thing. I know it sounds a little weird, but, you know, if you haven't all figured it out by now, I am weird. So
typically our coincidences are not coincidences.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the more you can pay attention to the world around you and what's going on, the more you're going to learn. It is absolutely crazy. One of the things that I started doing just a little bit, just to kind of prove a theory that I had, was whenever I go to the mountains in the morning, usually I'm relatively brain dead, or at least feel that way, until I get up there. And then all of a sudden I wake up. I go to the exact same place every single day. And I've been doing it for a couple years. But it's like I'm awake, you know, I'm on, and it doesn't seem, oh, here we go again, same drive, blah blah. It's a 30-minute drive at least, unless I drive really slow, then it's even longer. But what's interesting is There are times where I will see animals or birds as I start up into that journey into the mountains. It's about 4 miles on dirt roads. And sometimes I'll see animals or birds. Sometimes I see nothing, like not even bugs, which is really weird this time of year. It just happened a couple days ago. 0 bugs. Today, they came back, apparently. They found their way back. There were mosquitoes everywhere. But so I'll see a turkey here or a deer there or a blue jay fly across, or sometimes it gets really spectacular and you see flocks of turkeys, or you see, like I've seen multiple eagles, like 2 eagles at the same time, and occasionally a bear will cross my path. That's only happened twice. But I started writing down all the animals that I see. And the reason why is because I was told in one of these downloads a year and a half ago that they were messengers, that just because I'm in the mountains doesn't necessarily guarantee I'm going to see animals. Like, you could easily say, well, it's just coincidence. You're in a mountain. You're bound to see deer or a turkey. No, there are many times where I see nothing. I like to see animals. I want to see animals, but it doesn't mean that I will. So whatever I do, I write them down. And it came to me a few weeks ago now, maybe 3 or 4, that I wondered whether if I took the meanings of the animals that I saw on a given day and wrote down those meanings and then compared those, like, as keywords, right? And then compared that to the downloads that I got or the card that I drew or whatever, would the message be the same? So I tried it once or twice. I haven't done all of them, but I've done 1 or 2. And wouldn't you know that if you just take the keyword meanings of the animals, it's like, well, I saw 2 deer and a chipmunk and 2 turkeys and a dove. Okay. Well, what if you take the keyword meanings of all of those animals and you put them together, what do they say? Well, what I discovered was they said exactly what my download was. They said exactly what the card that I drew was and the definition in the book. So coincidence, sorry, you can't convince me. I'm at some point I want to go through the months and do that for every day, but big task. But it was just kind of curious to me. And there's been times where it's like, I know you want to see a bear, but you don't need a bear message. You're only going to see the animals that have messages for you, period. And then I think, yeah, but there's people around and they're going to scare the animals away and then I won't hear anything. Well, Kristen joined me on Sunday, and I was up there taking pictures of flowers, like after the download period and all that kind of stuff. We drove over to where the boat launch is. There's people everywhere, kayaking, boating, canoes, all of that. And I'm out shooting pictures of bugs on flowers, right? And all of a sudden, Kristen yells out, "There's a deer." And I look over, and here stands this deer 20 feet away from me. And she's just having a good old time. She could have cared less about all the other people that were there in their big, loud trucks and milling around and putting the boats into the water and everything. She was just doing her thing right in front of me, making sure that I saw her. I took pictures. I talked to her. I did, I often talk to him. Goes crazy. Remember?
You waved at her. It was so cute.
I waved. I've seen her before. You get to know some of these animals, but it was just kind of cool that even like she was in high grass, so she was camouflaged pretty well. But still, it's just kind of one of those things. Like this morning, I had this strong sense that I was supposed to go to this one area that I fondly refer to as Fairyland to walk down to the lake with my camera, because I don't always carry all of my camera gear, but today I did. And I didn't. And so I drove past that place on my way out This is so crazy. So I drove past Fairyland 2 and I'm on my way out. All of a sudden, this guy comes up in a truck and flags me down. Who does that in the middle of the mountains? And he's like, dude, you got to turn around. And I said, why? And he's like, oh, forestry's working on something down the way and they have the road closed. So you need to go up the road to where there's a shooting range up in that general area. You need to go up to where the shooting range is and turn around. This is like 300 yards from Fairyland 2. So guess what? I had to turn around and drive back past Fairyland 2 at that exact moment. So I thought, okay, fine. I will park the Jeep. I'll walk down to the lake with my camera and we'll see what all the hubbub is about. Well, all the hubbub, some of you who follow me on Facebook saw what the hubbub was about. There was osprey sitting right there in the trees. And as soon as I stepped out, he took off and started yelling and flew right in front of me and landed in another tree just long enough for me to take pictures. Click, click, click. Thank you very much. You got everything, Tony? You good? Okay, I'm out. And he flew away, and then I got back in my Jeep and kept on driving. But that's the kind of crazy stuff that happens. It's just so weird, but in the best possible way. And you get these messages about Kristen and I together and what we're doing together and everything. And then all of a sudden, every day, you see pairs of animals. Not one, not three, not five, two. Again and again and again and again and again. Okay, I get the message. Fine, thanks.
Like our Sunday drive started with a pair of doves and ended with a pair of something else.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all the slides that I have. This is pretty hefty stuff, and I would encourage you to go back and watch what you want to. I double dog dare you to. Because one thing that I can tell you for sure is that the quicker you let this stuff go, the more you're going to see show up in your life in a positive way. Is it going to be the be all end all cure all? I can't say that for you. I believe that if we choose to live the best version of who we are, our best self, like, how's that going to suck? I mean, seriously, how's that going to be a bad thing? I would venture to guess. I mean, I turned 60 this year, and I can speak with certainty that there's a lot of stuff that I was holding on to. I didn't even know I was holding on to. But the more of it that I let go, I told Kristen the other day, it's funny, I was told months and months ago that I was at about 10%. And I've done a lot of work since then on myself and, all of that. And I told her, I said, with all the work that I've done over the past several months, I'm probably at least at a good 17% now. I feel like I should be at 100, but I don't even know what that looks like. Well, I do actually, but I'm not like the guy that everybody brings into a dark room just to watch him glow in the dark. Like, I'm not quite there yet. I have a rock for that though. This bad boy right here. You put every night when we turn the lights off and go to bed, this sucker glows in the dark. It's just a natural glowstone. It's pretty cool. But anyway, does anybody have any other comments or questions before we wrap this up? I noticed that there were a lot of comments, and I didn't address many of them. Alex says, the subject matter of this podcast is way too close to home for me in my life. I've hardened myself to past events because I never knew how to deal with them. One at a time. I would encourage you, you don't have to solve it all today. That much I can tell you. But one thing that I found is as we take one step, we're met in that step. We're surrounded, maybe by our relatives, by angels, by spirits, by Jesus, whoever. But the reality, however we define that, the reality is that we really are surrounded by light. We're surrounded by light. We're surrounded by love. There's no right or wrong in how that's expressed to you. It's just that in taking those steps forward, you're not doing it by yourself. That I can tell you. Mary says, talking to animals is not crazy. I have even talked snakes into moving out of the way. Well, good, because I talk to them a lot. Some of them, I swear, they recognize me. I don't know that to be true. I mean, fortunately, they don't talk back. They're kind of more of a mental kind of thing. And that's all I'm going to say, actually.
Let's say something to Mary Hoyer quick.
Okay.
So, Mary Hoyer, earlier, you said, Hahnemann said, change the frequency and you change the matter. And we were talking about coincidences and stuff. And I'm actually a little bit late for a call that I need to hop onto for my crystal practitioner thing, but that's okay. We're not like there in person. We're just listening. But what's cool about what you said is I read about Hahnemann yesterday and again this morning in our required textbook, Vibrational Medicine. So yes, I'm getting into quantum physics and all sorts of fun stuff now. And that was just really cool to see your comment pop up because I wouldn't have had any references to who that was. And now I know. So it's really cool.
Yeah, we are stumbling down a lot of really cool paths. And quite frankly, it's really interesting and exciting because, like, for me, I constantly catch myself thinking, okay, so this is happening, or this revelation is being revealed, or I'm being challenged to do X, Y, Z. How is this going to impact my business, my webinars, my new business, my relationships? Like, I probably tend to overthink things a little more than I need to. But I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing as long as I don't latch on, But anyways, it's nothing crazy. I was told today that I need to start studying trees and their unique energetic properties. I think that's going to be a lot of fun because trees are really grounding. There is actually something to hugging a tree. Kristen just learned that in her class because it'll ground you really quick. You're dealing with a lot of stress and anxiety in your life. Go find a tree and hug it. It will ground you out very quickly. Or you can get some big ass tourmaline and hang on to those, which is another thing that I've been doing. Actually, I guess it's not. I must have moved them.
There's one right here.
I had them. Oh. Yeah, you get one of these. Like I was starting to get a headache yesterday, right on the back of my head. And within a matter of a minute, it was gone. I mean, sometimes they feel really cold like now, and other times they feel super hot. It's kind of crazy that a rock can do this. They aren't just stupid rocks. Scientifically, they have a very specific energy and vibration because they're made up of atoms just like everything else. And the atoms help determine the vibration and the frequency. It's just science. It's not woo-woo or anything like that. That's one thing that's been really cool with Kristen going through her certification and everything, is that it's really redefined how we view a lot of things. I've always kind of been leaning that direction, just didn't understand it all. But the fact that there is hardcore science behind a lot of the woo, or what we define as woo, is pretty cool, actually.
Show a rock.
That was tourmaline, Bunny.
Yeah, I'd have to look up the name of this rock, but it's not selenite. It's actually kind of powdery on the back, almost like talcum powder. But this particular rock mineral is a mineral that they sprinkle around where nuclear blasts have gone off. It transmutes radiation, so it absorbs radiation from electronics, from nuclear bombs, and then just like trees emit oxygen, it transmutes that radiation into something that is healthy for us and not harmful. So I now have one of these next to that giant tourmaline, in between, like in the center of all of our electronics. And I also do a transmuting body layout on myself now about once a week. I actually was due for it today. I'll probably do it tomorrow morning. I've been using hematite, but I just got a bunch of tourmaline. You can use either one. But I have not had to take Claritin in over a month. And I've been on the verge of taking Claritin every week. And then I do this, and my allergies are gone. It's amazing. I even tested myself by burying myself in Taco's fur, the little furry child you saw earlier, and no sneezing. So there is science to this stuff, and it's cool learning it from the side of the science, which is awesome. So I'm going to mute myself now, and I'm actually going to say adieu. I can put the name of that white powdery stone in the description of this video. I'll do that after the video is processed and everything, so probably be tomorrow. But I'll get that in there so that you guys can see it. I found it on Etsy. You can find them all over, but I found mine on Etsy, so I can link to their shop. And it's pretty cool. I mean, you can put it in front of a microwave, and it absorbs microwave radiation too. So it's pretty cool. So I'll see you all later. I have to hop on my other call now with my crystal group, and I'll let Tony finish it up.
Yeah, I really appreciate all of you joining us today. I don't know when we will do another one of these. I guess when we're supposed to. We'll find out together. But the replay will still be in our channel. If you could please, if you got anything out of our video today, please consider liking it, subscribing to our channel, clicking the notify. That way you'll know as soon as I set up a next one. You'll get a notify if you choose to click the little bell there. We would appreciate it very much. So I hope you all enjoy the rest of your night. I'm going to go not pay attention to a couple of Instagram turquoise auctions and not buy anything at all. And so anyway, good night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night.